standing by the chair and the vice chair of the Guam Education Board, Chairwoman Maria Gutierrez, and Vice Chair Mark Mendiola.
Half a day.
Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning, Mrs. G.
Good morning.
Good morning.
What a nice virtual background.
I like your background, Mrs. G. Are you doing your mental exercise or your physical exercise? Because I don't want you to get my ticket on me.
I'm home.
She's at home. Okay,
I'm
right.
at home.
Nice view.
Hey, Chris, happy belated birthday.
Thank you, Mrs. G. Thank you very much.
Hey, wow.
Yeah, I think Vice Chair was going to sing us a song there with his guitar.
Oh, yeah. I got it. JD Crutch? Is that what you want?
JD Crutch, that's it.
No, we want to hear the DOE budget blues.
There we go.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting. I just thanking the chair. We had a meeting a couple days ago, budget after the legislature sent the budget to the governor. So obviously we've been listening closely to the conversation, Ms. G. And so, of course, we got some concerns, some issues that we wanted to, just make sure that people are well aware. The biggest challenge that we have out there is how do we, divvy up the resources that is limited. We understand the environment we're in, but, education is still going on, despite the challenges that we're faced with online learning. You try to do face-to-face, but obviously it's very tough to do this in this type of environment. And when you hear about a child 10 years old, and not that much information coming from that, but it just makes you kind of, take a step back and look at what's going on, and how are we, are these things preventable? Of course, that's the biggest key. And then the other thing too is the discussion that we have, amongst our employees. That was a big discussion that we had, putting them in harm's way as well. We also have nurses too that were on the front line, the first wave, and I'm pretty sure they're going to get caught up. And then the other thing too that we're also dealing with is the mental health, and the department has also been assisting in the distribution of commodities. So yeah, it's going on. We continue, mission forward with trying to do our best, but of course the limited resources. But the conversation is pretty interesting because, when we looked at the budget that was sent to the governor, we realized that actually if we absorb that 5% cut, folks, that's going to be $30 million in the last since 2018. Mm-hmm. $30 million has been cut from the Department of Education. Crazy. And with this 5%, they're anticipating a 5% reduction, which equates to about close to $12 million. So you put that all together, Chris, you're asking us to do more with less, and then charter schools opening up. That's also publicly funded charter schools. Right. So, you got to kind of take a step back and say, okay, we got the CARES money, but a good portion of that also goes to private schools and charter schools. 10 million of that goes there. So you got $30 million basically that we have to put to 30,000 students, into getting the technology and you understand technology is not cheap. Mm-hmm. So obviously there's a lot of things that the department has to do. And then on the local appropriation side of things, when you look at the budget, things that jumped out at me and our during our board meeting was number one, we kind of defunded the sports program, the sports program that we had, and some of the discussions surrounded about, the superintendent has transfer authority, but the challenge with that is you already cut us that amount, and then you wanted to transfer within the budget. And then, the other point that we put out there was this limited gaming fund. That was an interesting point because now we no longer have those games of chance and then the cockfighting, which is where you get that revenue source, but then they put more exposure to that. And basically they're saying those two things that really fund that fund is no longer there, but we're still going to give you more money from that fund. Right. So, that was an issue or concern that we raised. We understand the dynamics of what's going on with our budget and stuff like that, but at the end of the day, our board, our responsibility is to advocate for our Department of Education. Right. And we're gonna let them know that the department cannot absorb that big of a hit in the middle of opening this pandemic, and trying to educate our children. And so everybody's saying, hey, federal funds this, federal funds that. A lot of people don't realize that there's this thing called the maintenance of effort. And I'm glad that the LT was talking about the grants and all this stuff, but it's your 3 average years at your local appropriations that allows you or gives you access to those federal funds. So if you cut the department for the level of maintenance of effort, you basically also reduces our chance of getting additional federal funding. So it's a double whammy for the department. It's called the maintenance of effort. And we've been raising that issue. I think Ms. G, myself, numerous times we've gone roundtable after roundtable, budget hearings. We submit our budget on the 31st of January. And so up until that point, we've always had these, our oversight chair has called us into the meeting time and time again, whether it be on special education, whether it be on operations, and the department, we're just strapped, both financially and then also, the resources that we have for our kids. Sorry, it's long-winded, but
No.
I also wanted to touch later on, if you want, on the what the high-risk status means. For
Yeah, but we want to let
I'll
Mrs.
get the
G.
chair
Right. Yeah.
say something if she wants to.
Mrs. G, I just got to ask because it's.
I've been watching the budget hearings, the session that was going on, and I am sensitive to where we are right now, and I know every department and agencies have the same thing or is going through the same thing. But in the Department of in Education, especially with DOE, we really people were saying that our employees are not really working because of this P-Core 1. Little do they know that they're teleworking, and even those that goes to the school for the grab and learn, they're risking their life, their health, going out there. Although they really wanted to just to be stay at home, but it's a commitment and that they have for the Department of Education. I am very concerned because I also saw the governor's revised budget. And DOE didn't get any a penny up from the revised budget.
Not
and
even
I
a
respect
penny?
the governor for that decision that she look at public health. I am wondering now, and I'm going to watch again the session today. Is what are they going to really do? Are they going to work together and look at what are the three under the Organic Act: health, safety, and education? Although the schools are not on the face-to-face learning right now because of there's a P-Core 1, but we're still continuing. And one thing as a board member and my other colleagues is we sure do not want our employees to be stressed of wondering whether the shortfall that we're going to be getting in the Department of Education, are they going to be laid off? Are they going to continue to get their salary increment? Because it's a salary increment that they are entitled to. This is their yearly evaluation. So those are the things that, as we tasked the superintendent to start with the spending priorities, because we really wanted to see what the outcome of the bill that was passed by the legislature and what the governor's action will be. So now that she provided her revised budget, and it didn't go through yesterday, and then now the legislature, are they going to override that if they go to session today? But we at DOE, our priority there is our employees and our students and the services that are provided to our students. We do not close our doors to any student that come to register at the Department of Education. We don't take the cream of the crop. We take everybody.
Right.
We provide the education to them. We provide the meals. We provide, so many things. So with this budget, we really are going to experience a lot of shortfall. And yes, they took out the interscholastic, and it's a lump sum. It's there, but it's a lump sum. So superintendent would have to find money in the event that we go back to normal and sports will continue. So I just ask that that the senators today reconsider and look at the Department of Education's budget, because for many years, excuse me, I've been on this board. DOE never get the full allotment on the budget that was passed. and thanks to the federal funding that it is at least helping us out, but we cannot depend on that because we have to it's not we have to also match that. So
Right.
we're in a situation right now, and so that's where we are, and
Right.
I'll have my vice chair work on the
Yeah,
talk
but
about the
guys,
highways, but
T-
just before you ask me and you guys ask me, okay? Our superintendent we did his evaluation, outstanding. He did not ask for pay raise. And just to let you know, he did not ask for a pay raise. The board on our contract says that in during his next annual evaluation, the board will consider. So I just want to bring that out because I know people are talking about pay raise to department heads, but Superintendent of Education John Fernandez on this evaluation where we gave him, and I think he's the only superintendent. The only one in the department in government of Guam that had outstanding, didn't get a pay raise. His salary remains as is until next year when we do the annual evaluation. If the board feels he's entitled, then we will take it from there. So I just want to make that sure.
Yeah,
clear because
thank you,
people
because
are texting me too.
Sabrina was going to ask, so.
No,
I think
we had
I
asked
know
that
you're gonna
before,
ask me
but
that.
but it was pointed out that he didn't get a raise. But I
Right,
was
right.
going to make that point. Like
Yeah.
we have a board that
Yeah.
approved, an outstanding
It's a tale of
performance
two boards.
evaluation. So
Yeah. Let me just ask, so when you just said you're employing the legislature, don't forget GDOE, right? But who do you dialogue with when your oversight chair is not on the job right now?
No, part of you want to go at that? Part of the
Go ahead,
responsibility.
Mr. Mendoza. It's the budget and finance.
Yeah, I'm the chair of the budget and finance, and part of our responsibility is to continue to remind the legislature, and that's why I made it a point earlier. Although Senator Chalina is on duty, we have been consistently. We've never missed a call to the legislature when it came an opportunity for us to do our presentation, our budget presentation. And even in the height of the COVID and dealing with the grab and go meals and all this stuff, the superintendent and the board has made the time to go down when the legislature wanted us to come down there and to advocate for our budget. And that's the challenge. We have to convince the other 15 or 14 other senators that education should be a priority. And that's the challenge, that the dilemma that we're faced with. Is that obviously there are certain funds or certain areas that fund other levels of government. But, the challenge really is just getting people to see it. And it's all walks of education, because even after they leave the Department of Education, they go to GCC and UOG. And so we just got to make sure that that pipeline for education is protected, safeguarded. These are going to be the folks that are going to help in the recovery of our economy. In a couple of months, they're going to be graduates that are going to be going into the workforce. They're going to be looking for that entry level jobs. Students graduating from GCC in the technical field, and then advanced degrees at university. And so you're absolutely right. Who do we talk to? Well, I know for a fact that we've had communications with the chair of budget and finance, Joe San Agustin. We've communicated with him on a consistent basis. I believe the chair has a really good relationship with him. Myself, I reached out to Senator Amanda Shelton, and we've asked other board members too that have relationships with these senators to also reach out to them. So we're doing our part in terms of trying to just get there and trying to get them to take a look back at the Department of Education, because what's at stake, Chris, really is if we don't get that level of maintenance effort, in a budget call, then it really limits the other saving grace for us, which is our ace in the hole, which is access to federal funds. And we've made tremendous strides. We even got recognized by the U.S. Department of Ed. I shared with you folks the letter that we received from U.S. Ed. What that means basically is if we get off high-risk status, that just shows that the department has made significant stride in managing federal assets, and they will give us access to more of those federal resources. So right now we manage about close to $60 million in federal grants coming in. And there was a word that the lieutenant governor used earlier, and it's called supplanting. We cannot supplant. We cannot use federal funds to what local resources should be paying for. And so that's why it's specific to these grants and to these areas. That's where there's special education, special programs, robotics, all these different programs within the Department of Education. There is someone in the background working to get those grants and to have access to that. We have, we stood up our internal audit office, and it's really interesting, Chris, because as the federal government starts to release us from that oversight, the local side is starting to say, hey, we want more oversight over you folks. And we're like, 6 years of clean audits, 6 years of clean audits, no question costs. And that goes to our internal audit team, Frank Cooperners, of course, our superintendent, making sure that we get these things done. And it was just amazing that, it's like our people don't even trust the department to do what it needs to do. And the federal government is recognizing and realizing that we've done a tremendous amount. So if we get off of that, of course, it'll be a cost savings I wouldn't say a savings. We're going to take that money, we're going to put it back in the classroom.
Right.
That's what we need to do.
Yeah.
And that's why we worked on this. Ms. Gutierrez and the previous board, the boards were never involved. This is the first time, Ms. Gutierrez, and she can attest to that the board actually got really involved in trying to push this thing through. And we're at a level right now where we're hoping that by January, that's up to the probationary period, that we'll get good news and that we will not have a third-party oversight reviewing some of our activities at the department. So that's something that we definitely need. And for the listening public out there, I hope that you guys can assist us in advocating with the legislature in getting the local resource side of our house. Like Ms. Gutierrez said, they basically said, here's a check up to this amount, and you can do whatever you need to do within it, but we're not going to fund these certain things. And so we need to figure that out. So on top of the 5% cut that they made, they've also taken some key components that these special funds, we usually get funds from, like the Territorial Education Facilities Fund, or the Limited Gaming Fund, or the Healthy Futures Fund. We realize that, a lot of businesses are shuttering up, so the tax base is eroding, and it's going to be very tough. It's going to be a tough year for us. But with the Department of Education, it's hard to steer this ship when you're dealing with 30 some thousand kids, and you have about close to 4,000 employees. It's hard to right size that ship and shift in a moment's notice. And frankly speaking, I believe the superintendent and his management team has done a wonderful job in, trying to alleviate the anxiety. I'm a parent of, kids in the public school system, and just having all those computers going on at the same time, the technology, and then my wife's also a teacher. We know what it takes what the education system is going through. So that's why we wanted to come on board, let the community know that, this is times where, the Department of Education is going to need also some advocacy from our folks out there in the community.
Right. I don't know why you need our advocacy, because it's an election year. And what is that they always say, Mrs. G? Education first. And now it's education first to get caught, right?
We had John Fernandez on last week, and he was talking about this $12 million cut to the Department of Education's budget, and he said, there's discussions that are underway, there are meetings that are happening regarding what are we going to do, right? And one of the things he said was, there's this talk of the possibility of just cutting out face-to-face for the entire school year. What are some of the other things that we could potentially see with this $12 million cut?
Well, what usually happens, Madam Chair, is the legislature gives us a level of appropriations, and then we come back to the board and we have a spending priority. And the spending priority we've had in the past, and this with Ms. Gutierrez, has been safety and welfare of our schools. Of course, the curriculum and instruction, and then also, just dealing with a myriad of issues within the Department of Education. But, what it boils down to really is we won't know until that time comes. But there has been discussion. I mean, to take a $30 million cut since 2018, we've been cutting. We suspended early childhood. We were supposed to have the early childhood program, pilot programs, pre-K program, Ms. Jean. And that was a program that we were standing, so we suspended that. There's some, when as people's attrition, as people retire and people leave, we don't hire. We try to, and it becomes a big toll on our staff, because I mean the work is still required to get done, and so we're gonna have to go back to the drawing board, and we hope that we don't have to. That's what we're trying to prevent while they're in this discussion. And if we're able to get more resources from the local side, and we're able to get some of those resources from the federal side, it can kind of bridge the gap. And so that's the key component for me as a board member. Of course, we do not want to touch the classroom, but that discussion in the environment that we're living in, like I mentioned earlier, that 10-year-old kid that passed, and I do recall reading a report where I think between the ages of 1 all the way up to 19, there's a good number there. If I'm not mistaken, that report said about close to 200 folks that were identified as COVID positive or tested positive, And so obviously you look at that, and then you look at our employees that also getting tested, and it's reported out, it's a DOE employee gets tested.
Right.
And so, our protocols, no matter how great your protocols are for that, obviously this virus is just touching, different all walks of life. And so you try to mitigate that by doing certain things. So the debate out there is whether we open school or we don't, but at the end of the day, we have to act as one single unit. And of course, Ms. Gutierrez and I, the leadership of the board, will have that conversation with the superintendent, and we really leave the operational aspect to him, but we provide him support in terms of, in terms of the calendar. What is the school calendar going to look like in terms of, when school starts, when does it end, and all these things that come into it, the intricate details of our policies. So, and Ms. Gutierrez has been on the board, but I think this is the worst that we've seen it, where it's like the perfect storm. We're getting hit on the financial side, but we're also getting asked to do more in a new learning environment with technology.
So senators are
And
okay.
Sabina and Chris, I know that people say out there, the public said the DOE has so many employees and they spend so much money on personnel. I'd like to remind them that the majority of the personnel are the school personnel, teachers, support staff, administrators. The central office don't fill vacancies as soon as somebody retires. They multitask. So that is why our personnel is really on teachers, support staff, and we have a board union contract that we have to also work with. And I was saying that years that the Guam Federation of Teachers have been in existence, this is the first time that the Department of Education, the Board of Education, have worked collaboratively with a good relationship with the Guam Federation of Teachers, because they understand what we're all going through, what the island is going through. So I just want to make people understand that the personnel are not at the central office; they're out at the schools. We have parents that in the past complain, well, not enough school aides, not enough teachers, not enough this and that. That is the reason. That's where the salaries are in personnel, is at the schools, and we value our teachers. They're really working extra hard now with this pandemic, and as we go out on the regional meetings, they're even asking how can the Department of Education help them with their internet, their everything, because they are also, their other half may be a private company, a private business employee that have been laid off, or hours have been cut, and they're the only means of supporting the family during this pandemic. So I just want to make sure that the public understand that our teachers, our school staff are really working hard to provide with the education that our kids needed. And of course, it's hard to satisfy so many people, but we got to work together on this. And they have been very understanding. They buy their own, the teachers buy the supplies out of their own pocket, just because of the commitment and they understand that the department is short on funding to get everything that is needed. But this is where we help in, and the legislature, I hope that they understand that what we're going through and help us out in the department. We do not want to cut any any programs that is for the students. Remember, we also have students with special needs, and those are the students that we cannot put aside, because it is very important that we provide it fairly. And this is what's happening in the States: is all students should be treated equal. All students should be treated equal. So I just want the public to please understand that when they talk about the majority of, I mean, DOE has a high personnel cost. It's because of the teachers, the staff at the school. That's where all this money is. Thank you.
Wow,
Thank you.
I find it hard. Well, no, I don't find it hard to believe, but it's just kind of sad that people are complaining about employees at the Department of Education when we have full-on GovGuam agencies that, what are you doing?
Right.
I don't want to name them because I think
Just
people
name 'em.
already know.
Yeah, they do.
But anyway,
I just think it's funny that we have to educate 30,000 plus students, and people expect you to do it with no employees. What are you thinking, guys? Come on.
so have you guys done the dear legislature letter
Did you
or
write
anything
dear
like
senator
that?
letter?
Yeah.
I think they have, you can see our budget manual that we submit down there, it's volumes. I mean, we even have to put it sometimes in, but I gotta say this, Chris, and Bree, that, our board has been our social media game is pretty tight. We have Zoom meetings constantly with parents, and we also have our work sessions online. We try to get out there to the community as much as possible. I mean, prior to this COVID, we were going down to the Central, South, and northern schools whenever there was an issue of redistricting, or whether it was the budget when the first Trump tax cuts came through. Those are the things that we went out to our community and we engaged with them. And so I can pretty much say that, we kind of have a good pulse in terms of, where we are in the community. And like Ms. G said, we cannot please everybody, but at the same time too, we have to act as one unit. If we're going to make a decision, and we have to respect each other's decision, and and we're looking out for the safety of all those involved. I think that's the key component here. Of course, we would love the resources, but at the same time too, they give us all the resources in the world, and it's not safe to open our schools, then we're not going to open our schools. That's not what we're going to do, and I'm pretty sure. And it's really the superintendent's duty and responsibility to inform the board of those types of environment. And he has been a partner in this. And as G mentioned, the GFT, we have these folks sitting at our board meetings. They sit at the same table that we sit at. And although they're non-voting members, we still do listen to their concerns. We even have the student leadership, the IBOGs, although we're in the beginning of it, and they're a part of it as well. We have the teachers. We also have a good cross-section on our board. A retired administrator. We got 6 that were elected, and then there's a business person on the board as well. So, the function of the board is really just to continue the advocacy work, but to also assist and manage the superintendent's duties based on policy. So, I mean, that's the big picture things that we're looking at. But we do need the resources, and this is the time just to have these discussions before the decision's made. Because once the decision's made, I do know that there was discussion that potentially, the revenue projections are greater than they're going to go ahead and do a supplemental budget, and hopefully the Department of Education is in that. I think that Senator San Augustine mentioned that in your show yesterday, that if there is additional revenue coming in, that hopefully the DOE would be there. Not hopefully, they should be there. And I think that's the key component of it. The Ms. G pointed out the 3 areas: healthcare, public safety, and education. And everything else that's around that should be taken a back seat. But we should find balance too, because at the end of the day, there's people's livelihoods that we're depending on to make those decisions for our people and our island. But education is not at this point in time is not an easy task to do. There's just a lot more expectations with a lot less resources. And so with that, I just ask our community to stay engaged, stay informed. I watched the legislative hearings. I listened to your show, and we just try and get as much information so we can make those decisions. And I think when you get those doctors on your show, and you get subject matter experts on your show, it really helps us, the community, stay informed. so we can make informed decisions and not be keyboard warriors, only keyboard warriors, right? But to really make meaningful, add to the discussion so that we can come up with sound policy, sound judgment.
Right.
So with that's all pretty much I have, Ms. Jean.
No, that's it.
You know, and one thing, Sabrina and Chris, I do communicate with Senator San Augustine, and as a former chair on the Guam Policy Board, he knows what how it is when we don't get the funding, and you know he's only one senator, so I hope the other senators are chair and vice chair on the Committee on Education will stand up for the Department of Education, because we need to continue this education, providing the best education for our students. And with our superintendent and his leadership team, he brings up this, the concerns to us that he gets from the teachers, from the parents, from the students. And just to make it clear, we don't micromanage, okay? It's against the law. It's in our 17 GCA, the board don't micromanage. So I just want to make sure when people out there accuse us of micromanaging, we don't micromanage. We follow the law and we're very transparent, okay? So I just hope that everyone will understand that what is going on with the Department of Education if we don't get those funding that is needed. And yes, somebody is saying, well, you don't have sports right now. But if we go back to regular, what are we going to tell our students? That I'm sorry, you cannot proceed because it's taken away. We want to be prepared. We may not have the full amount of what we had in the past for last year for interscholastic, but we just need to be prepared because we're in here for the students, and that's the purpose of us supporting the Department of Education. Yes, it's not, people can say it's easy to be a board member. It is not. And I have one colleague, that new colleague, that say, I didn't know that it is this headache to be a board member. And say, you know what we go through now. And we don't do it for the stipend. We don't do it for the stipend.
You don't do it for the $50?
We do it for the from our heart.
And you guys got some competition coming. I saw the list of
right on
candidates.
A lot of us board members donate our stipend back to the schools if it's needed, or to the student group. So that I want to make it very clear that we're not in there for, many years ago, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, a board member said, can we have the same amount with CCU? I said, I'll be the first one at the legislature to testify against it because we're not in for the money.
Right. Let me close. We'll just close.
Want to make that
I got you. Thank you, Chair. Let's just ask.
The vice chair can talk about the high risk.
No, he did. You're good. We just want to ask. So we did see that there were a bunch of candidates for the school board, and you guys have had your share of headbutting with Adelup. Is this what it looks like? Does it look like Adelup is trying to stuff the ballot with a bunch of their gauzus for the board so that it would change the complexion and maybe give them the number of votes they need to micromanage the department from Adelup?
Honestly, I'm not thinking about that because I think that if a board, anyone that's running for the board, come in there to support the school, the Department of Education. Come in there with a commitment for the students, not for anything else. And that I respect everybody on the board that has declared their preference of political party. I don't have a party. I support people that will work with us for the students. I respect those that are running and have made the best candidate win. If the public say, Maria Gutierrez, you're out, I'm satisfied because I think I have done my best, and my colleagues that are in there we did everything that we can to help the superintendent.
Thank you.
Well, sounds like you're thinking about it a little bit.
I'm not worried. Let people.
You're not worried about it then. Right on. Bring it on, in other words, right?
No, but for me, the optics really is, of course, you can look at it two ways. One is we're doing a terrible job and more people want to run and they want to contribute. They got a set of skills. And then the other one too is you're doing a good job and you want to be part of this board, So, but for me, at the end of the day, I just hope that the people that put themselves forward, it's a lot of things to consider. And there's going to be some sleepless nights, especially when you have differences of views. But I can honestly say on this board, since I've been on board, we agree to disagree, but when we disagree and the vote comes out, we act as one unit. We've got to respect the processes that's in place. And so I think that's the difference that this board has had over the previous boards in previous years, is when we make a decision and we come out, it's based on a thoughtful process. Now in our board meetings, we actually, every action we take has a board resolution. And before, when I first came on board, it was just a simple motion. But in a resolution, it basically highlights and details the entire chronology of how we derived came to that decision. And it gives the superintendent and his team an opportunity to put that story in writing so that the next people coming behind us will be able to see that and say, okay, maybe the times have changed. That's the reason why they made that decision. But now moving forward, we're going to change because of this, the COVID, for instance. And so I think that's one thing we've added on the board is structure and stability. And, those folks come behind us. Hopefully that's a legacy that if I'm not elected to serve again, that the next group coming in will keep on with that, because I think we've been as transparent as possible and getting people engaged. And that's the thing that we wanted to, I want people to know, is that we've always tried to have our stakeholders engage with us before decisions are made. And I think that's one of the reasons why, if you look as of late, the department in terms of controversy has not been really, mired in personnel or personality conflicts, but rather in what are the real issues that's facing the Department of Education, because we cannot be distracted at this point in time in terms of, personalities or trying to get rid of people and all these stuff. You got to hold them accountable, do your work, do your job, and when you do it well, you do it right, then we reap the benefits at the end of the day. And so that's the, my take on that.
All right. Thank you. Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Mrs. G.
Thanks, Maria. Thanks, Mark.
Thank you, Vice.
safe.
Always love these guys. Ay, day. Thank you, Mrs. G. Yeah, let me just text me when you're going to bring the takoyaki. Inside joke.
Okay. Wasn't sure what that
I'm
was.
working on some takoyaki first. No, her boy makes takoyaki.
What is that?
That's the balls with this